Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realms Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, and this week on Guild Wars 2 News, we've got just a little thing. I don't know, the schedule for the rest of the living story for Icebrood Saga. And a lot of other stuff aside. But before we get into that, let's get to our fellow hosts. First, we have... She streams for MMORPG.com. The final showdown is set. She's ready to counter Jormag's whispers with a roar. Say hello to Arlie.
Not yet. Almost. Soon.
We're getting there. Like, the date is set. The fight is ready.
I can't wait. Yay. Well, actually, I feel like the next few episodes are going to be like, you know, powering up the big thing, and then the last episode is going to be the end of Dragon Ball Z.
So are we going to have the 5 minutes stretch into like 30 episodes? Okay,
yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so Jormag's got like 4 forms under his belt, right?
Right.
Got it. Okay. And he streams over at twitch.tv/AgeNightroad, where he answers the age-old question: if it's nothing but bots and ranked, who really wins?
Ooh.
The machines? Dun, 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 dun,
So you're saying Guild Wars 2 PvP ranked is the breeding ground for Skynet?
At this point, seems like it.
Man, I was hoping for a much cooler robot uprising.
I mean, that's the most popular one that I can think of.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Matrix. Like, I don't know if you want that type of uprising.
I don't know. That's getting a little too meta for me. But finally, our special guest this week, he's a scream over at twitch.tv/ZeKrioX. Say what's up to ZeKrioX.
What's up, people? I'm having a good day. I hope you guys are having it too. Interesting news cycle this week, I believe. Got a lot on my mind, to be completely honest, and I'm super excited to talk about it. So, yeah. I'm going to take this mask off because it's really getting hot in here.
I can never imagine doing anything like full face mask with glasses.
No.
No.
Like, literally anything where even like it's paint on all of your face or something, or like, no, I can't imagine doing that either.
Yeah, it would be.
That's terrible.
It would be probably awful. So, I guess the biggest thing this week that we have to get to is the release of the schedule for the Icebrood Saga Champions. The Icebrood Saga Champions is a multi-chapter living world finale featuring new story, repeatable gameplay content, rewards, achievements, and masteries. In the weeks between releases, each chapter will continue to evolve with new content and ways to play.
So, is this a new season?
It's different.
Season in the season. Essentially, well, it's like a book, and then it's like the chapter in the book has sub chapters. This is what this is.
It's like
I kind of like to call it like similar to like Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's technically a multi-part finale, essentially.
Right. But like, so Last Avatar had 3 different books, and each book was a season, and it had episodes in it. So.
Well, I think what Zek is pointing out is this is basically the Sozin's Comet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of the Icebrood Saga book.
I see.
Which is funny because fire and ice. So.
Wasn't thinking about that, but okay.
Yo.
But hey, you got me there.
Yeah. So, now this is something that ZeKrioX actually brought up in chat last week's show. November 5th, we're getting chapter 1 of this.
Oh, the trailer.
The trailer?
Yeah, it's the trailer.
Okay.
It comes.
I was hoping
November.
for like a November release of something,
Oh, no,
maybe
wait.
episode 6.
Sorry, I was a week ahead. It's November 17th.
Right.
So
I was still technically thinking about the month. Like, it's like, what are we doing this month specifically? But
so
at least we got something.
November is going to give us one voice acting in Jormag Rising and No Quarter, which means I can finally replay both of those and understand it. God damn it, Mac! Every single time you change your name. Anyway, so Chapter 1, Truce, is coming out on November 17th. So we are getting brand new story in between Halloween and Christmas, which
Yay!
I'm super excited about.
Wait, so is Truce coming out with voice acting in it? Did they say that?
I would assume so. Like, I think they said when they were redoing when they said they'd go back and do all the voice acting, that everything going forward would also have voice acting.
Okay, right.
They
Awesome.
said Jormag.
Yeah, they got the equipment, so now they can work.
Cool.
Yeah.
See, Arlie, you need to open the show notes.
Oof.
I'm asking the questions that people are asking and they can't ask themselves.
Yeah. Smooth. And then, obviously, we've got Winter's Day in 2020, so that's going to probably release like early December, and then the holiday break for ANET, which literally, if anyone out there is angry at them for going on break over Christmas, I have unkind things to say about you.
Right.
That's not cool, yo. And then
Coolio?
Cool, yo, not Coolio. Coolio's fine.
Oh, okay.
And then we don't have exact dates starting in 2021, but in January, Chapter 2 of Champions will be Power. February, we will have the Lunar New Year holiday event. March 2021, we will have Chapter 3 Balance. Super Adventure Festival in April. And then Chapter 4 in May 2021, Judgment.
Yeah. This is a pretty ambitious schedule, I have to say. Like, every other month, a new chapter.
Well, that depends on, because it's entirely possible that the grand total summation of this for story instances could be similar in length to what we've been getting previously, but they're also interspersing other stuff with each of the releases, which we will get to in a
even
minute.
like with the other Icebrood Saga chapters, there's been more than a month between each of them.
Right. Yeah, it's because it's a fairly sizable release along with the map and
Right.
everything.
So I'm just saying, if they're keeping that same pattern and each one of these releases is of a comparable size and scope, then that's a pretty ambitious timeline.
Yeah. But the last... Oh, sorry, H, go ahead.
I thought it was okay because on average they've been doing 2 months at a time. I think the cadence has been longer between the last episode and this one just because of the voice acting.
The voice
That's
acting,
longer...
pandemic stuff, yeah.
I thought there was a longer break earlier in the cycle too. I thought there was like a 3 or 4 month break some point.
It's possible for the prologue because the prologue kind of like fit in between like the holidays of last year. So
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying I don't think they can do it, but I feel like it's a release timeline that we haven't seen in a while.
do you think they'll have reduced maps and stuff? Maybe that'll make it go faster.
Well, I was actually thinking about that. But before we get to that, I was just wanting to put out, this timeline is independent of our announcement and release plans for End of Dragons. So, living story stuff, completely divorced, like, apparently they're not even affecting each other for the two releases.
I feel like that feels unlikely because, like, unless the story is not going to lead into the next one at all.
Well, no, I mean, I think they talk in, like, the functional, like, business sense. Like, not the story, like, anything they do to work on the story, like, for the release schedule and anything, is not affecting expansion development. Like, they've got two teams running 2 separate tracks. The story will point into End of Dragons, of course, but...
Yeah, I think my point was more that, like, they do affect each other because it's not like, you know, in March they're going to be like, oh yeah, expansion now. Like, that's not going to happen, even if it was ready, which...
Right, but I think one of the things that people think is this is kind of like a super aggressive release schedule to do, like, every month. Like, people might be worried about that.
Although I don't know if this changed when I was looking at the site, because I feel like when I went to the actual page on the website, I did not see that parentheses subject to change underneath that. I'm not so sure if it was there previously when I first read it, but it did say something like Icebrood Saga champion release roadmap subject to change.
Yeah,
if
make sure
it
it said
did, it
that.
should have.
It did. I made sure of that.
Okay.
I was gonna
Maybe
say
I just skipped over it because I was too excited for new stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
For those of you on Reddit, subject to change.
Always. Like, even if they didn't say that, that is just the starting point. No matter what game, whatever, if they say that this is what we're planning, it can change.
But the next bit here is I'm not going to take away from reading the blog post from people, but the Icebrood Saga's conclusion will be felt throughout Tyria, even across the seas. So
That makes sense.
and part of me, and I'm probably reading too far into this, and this is probably me channeling a bit of Deo for this. Felt throughout Tyria is hoping is part of me is hoping we'll see some updates made to core Tyria.
Oh, landscape wise,
Landscape, maybe some mechanic stuff, story updates.
That would be cool.
It might be
SX Hills getting fixed. Just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Fort Salma.
That too.
See, that's interesting. I don't think they'll go ham on that. I think it'll be like maybe if they can use core maps, because like we've been saying, they can use core maps to improve, like extend the story and reuse old assets, but it depends on how the old maps work versus the new ones. But if it's possible, I think most of the Shiver Peaks would be affected, if anything. But if you look at how maps have been changed over time, it's usually one episode that changes a map. I don't know how ham they'll go if that's the case.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't imagine they would do anything that would completely change any of the core maps, like to make it 100% different. But I could see how like certain sections of some of the maps being changed or have effects on them or whatnot. Of course, they would still need to make sure that those maps fit in and make sense with people who are leveling up through and playing through stories and stuff in the maps. Those would.
I don't know how necessarily true that is anymore, considering that we have the sepia-toned scenes in Lion's Arch for the personal story stuff.
Not to mention the random attacks from Joko's forces, even in starter areas.
Oh,
That's
right. I forgot that was a thing.
Yep.
Wow.
And also the bandit executioners, you know, the people who are secretly White Mantle.
Right.
So,
but
so it could technically, like, you know, for the most part, most of the map will be untouched, but maybe a segmented corner, like you mentioned, but either it doesn't get as much traffic as normally when you go through the maps, or places that haven't been updated in a while, maybe they'll incorporate like newer stuff when they go through with it.
Yeah.
Doggy, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure mine will go off at some point today.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, because, you know, when they did the Nightmare Tower and all of the Kessex Hills changes and stuff, which you still see effects of it, I feel like that is... I mean, that was a long time ago, but I think that's on the higher side of amounts of change that we would see. I would think it would be less than the change that all of that brought.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably just wishful thinking on my part, because, I mean, pulling from my World of Warcraft experience, I think one of my favorite things that ever happened to the game was the complete revamp of the vanilla areas in World of Warcraft Cataclysm, which a lot of people got really pissed about, but I goddamn loved, because it showed the world moving forward. So
Right. Well, it's always hard when you do things like that, because regardless of how obscure or unknown about something is, there's always going to be some segment of the game population that thing was the thing that they loved more than anything.
Yep.
So, like, anytime you change something that's been there for a long time, you will always have people who are upset about it. But yeah, I tend to agree with you too. I like things progressing and not just being forever time locked in the same state that they are.
Yeah.
Because eventually that gets boring, you know?
Speaking of new stuff, we do have a list of things that they are saying will come with every chapter of the Icebrood Saga Champions releases. We have replayable Dragon Response missions. Each chapter of the Icebrood Saga Champions introduces new Dragon Response missions, which can be tackled solo or in a group of up to 5 players. In these encounters, you'll head to invasion points to shore up defenses and protect the area from rampaging dragon minions.
Tower defense, let's go.
I mean, tower defense would be goddamn cool. I don't know how it would work, but I would love every second of it. I'm looking at this, honestly, as something akin to, like, officially set up dailies in other MMOs.
Like daily dragon response type deal.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
Especially if this is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I would say you could tack it on to the dailies already there. Yeah, sure.
But it's more... And I think it's... If we're saying it's solo or up to 5 players, this sounds like it's instanced content. Because...
I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
It would have to be, because otherwise it would quickly exceed 5 players often.
Yeah, and then the scaling would go all kinds of out of whack, and it's just like, why would you bother saying that you can complete it from 1 to 5 in a group of 1 to 5 players,
right?
If you could do it open world. So
kind of reminds me of like one of the guild missions where it's sort of in a similar vein. Remember that like one guild mission where it's like 3 tunnels and you kind of have to like defend
with the Skritt.
Yeah. So
that was
I'm guessing
cool. I like that.
So I'm guessing like a more proactive version of that, I guess, while we're dealing with it.
I mean, that would be cool. But if it's instance content, they can basically do whatever they want, I think.
Right. Well, I was going to say if it's Dragon Response, I would imagine there's like something happening and we're going to go address that or stuff. So
now they're living up to the Dragon's Watch of the Dragon's Watch.
We did it. We did it. We made the name work, just like Dragon Hunter, eventually. We are also going to be befriending allied factions. During global faction mobilization events, players can pitch in to train, rally, and build trust with factions both familiar and unlikely. You'll be rewarded for your efforts, and your allies will begin randomly appearing in Dragon Response missions to lend their special strengths to the fight.
Ooh.
So I'm seeing this as the Dragon Response, the befriending allied factions, is, I feel like the Dragon Response missions, you might end up having like tiers for completion. Like you have to hit certain goals and you're going to miss out on certain goals until you have certain special assistance from these allied factions.
Maybe, yeah.
Like that would be cool, but you know, we're kind of getting rep grind.
Yeah.
Or like even if it may be not that it's impossible to get certain tiers until you have those allies, but maybe just make it really, really, really difficult to do. Like possible, but very difficult. And then as you get those helpers, it gets easier to progress through. Would be good.
Yeah.
So in factions and in Nightfall, you had rep grind for certain factions. So in factions in particular, you had Luxon and Kurzik. And in Nightfall, it was Sunspear. And it was another one I forgot already. Lightbringer, I think it was. But it sounds like the more rep you get, the like more allies or randomly appear, or different allies randomly appear to help you out. But it's interesting how it works because it says during global faction mobilization events. So it seems like on the maps there's going to be events where you can like build that trust, but it adds on to your rep, and then when you go into Dragon Response missions, that effect that rep affects
Oh.
what ally you get.
That
That's
would
what
be
it sounds like.
interesting. Yeah, because that would be tying in different systems together, which would be cool.
I kind of have a bit of a tinfoil hat theory with one aspect of how, at least with an idea of a faction in there. The only problem is if what I assume is correct, then it debunks a possibility for one particular feature I want to request for the next expansion, and I'm a little worried. And if you're wondering what that faction is, it's the Tengu.
Mhm.
And chances are we could be allying ourselves through these particular events they're going to be added.
I didn't think about that.
And what I'm worried about is like, okay, yeah, we include the Tengu. It's like, what about the expansion? What are you talking about? Oh no, I don't know. That could be just overblown negative. I don't know. I do apologize in that aspect, but it's like Tengu's a faction.
I don't know if that would necessarily preclude getting Tengu as like player race kind of stuff. I don't know if they'll do like I want Tengu as player race because I think that'd be damn cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think it's likely considering the amount of work that would go into it to fit them in. It's been a whole me and my wife were talking about it on like a 2-hour walk, and it took a sizable 45 minutes of that chunk to discuss all the ins and outs of having to get them into the game. So I don't think it'd be cool. Like that would be a great way to like dovetail End of Dragons into it to start trickling in some information from the Tengu. So I don't think one necessarily precludes the other.
So. I hope so. I really hope so because
I mean, it's a very unlikely ally.
Yeah.
So.
I'm hoping to see the Nightmare Court come back with this.
Oh, that's true.
Because one of the things, and I remember talking to Bobby Stein about this in PAX East 2019. We were in a bar. It was the Guild Wars 2 meet. It was the ANET meetup, and I asked him specifically about. I can't remember the woman's. I think it's Duchess something or other. But there's a Nightmare Court NPC in Dragonstand. Duchess
Chrysanthemum. Yeah, it was like a flower.
Well, yeah.
Blah blah blah. I forgot.
But so I thought that clearly there was supposed to be some kind of storyline for the Nightmare Court going through Heart of Thorns if she was there, and he said, yeah, we just literally did not have the time to fit it in. The time or the space to fit it in, which I was disappointed with, but I would love to see the Nightmare Court come back because I want to know what happened to them after Mortemoth kicked the bucket.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know how that works now.
Well, that would be especially interesting because it kind of turned out that their whole thing that they were about was true. Like, one of their core beliefs was that they were taken away from what their purpose was through the events that led to the Sylvari, being a thing and all that, which kind of is true. So, I always wanted to see how that played out, too.
Must you? Sorry.
That's a yes.
Cat aggro.
Yeah, we can watch.
Another idea for a faction could be the Kodan or the Kodan, technically, as well. We've already had some good involvement with them at this point in the Icebrood saga. It would make more sense for them to participate in these kinds of events too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the ones in Bureau Marches.
Yeah.
Could see some of those NPCs show up. Honestly, I think it's going to be a great setup to get more story because not only will you I'm wondering if the Drizzlewood Coast rep grind with the legions is kind of what the precursor to this was. So
yeah, I'm not sure what allies we'll get. I think it's obviously we're gonna get Norn allies and Char allies, and probably some human ones. I don't know if Queen Selma will get some of her Royal Guard,
the
Shining Blade coming out and things like that.
The remnants of the White Mantle, learning that they were dumb.
Like for me, unlikely allies are like a CERN or Sylvari, just because they haven't been in this episode really as much.
Right.
And suddenly we're working with the Inquest. I hate
Those
to like keep bringing
those
up
weird
like,
mist wardens. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I hate to keep bringing up like enemy factions, but I feel like that's just where my mind goes when you talk about unlikely allies. So
Could we get like a hopefully a closure of those like mist warden, mist like we've been getting a lot of like these weird mist characters. I wonder if they could get involved eventually too.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I guess the ones that like the Caiths. Oh,
No,
Yeah.
that's the Crystal Bloom
Crystal Bloom.
faction. No, it's just that there was like this one particular NPC that is where you get like some of those missing Heart of Thorns, Revenant weapons.
Oh, I know. Okay.
But at the same time, there's also releases of these mist outfits, these weird characters that
the Mist
have like a
Stranger.
hoodie. Yeah, the mist exactly like.
Yeah. I feel like-
Crazy theory, but I don't know.
I feel like that
Could
might
they
have
get
been
involved too?
That might have been like something they dropped but already had modeled, so they threw it on the gem store, which is disappointing but cool. So, but that's my theory on it. I would love to see myself proven wrong. Like, I would absolutely love to be wrong about that, and I would absolutely love for you to be right with that, Zach, because anything more with the mists I think is fantastic, just because there's so much potential there. And then, finally, we have, of course, the achievements, masteries, and rewards. The Dragon Slayer Mastery track is going to be available to boost your abilities in Dragon Response missions, and purchase weapon recipes and purchase weapon recipes and more from friendly faction vendors. Complete achievements and collections to earn valuable materials, mastery points, and unique rewards. So now they're basically saying flat out that these factions are going to have unique skins and items.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that is a good point. Hap.
Yeah,
That's yeah, but
there's a lot of factions you can consider. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
technically a lot of factions we can consider.
regarding the masteries. I don't know. Purchase. They're kind of linking the masteries into the weapons now because it kind of feels bloated otherwise. Just like adding random abilities that you're not going to use unless you're on that map. So I guess it's a little better just to have actual value for it, but.
I mean, we had the entire point of like the tier 2 legendary weapons came from a mastery. But I think it's more just kind of, and I don't mind having map specific ones because for the longest time, bouncing like anything with mushrooms had nothing to do with current content. So
Right.
it was only, I want to say recently that they started adding bouncing mushrooms to anything after Heart of Thorns.
I thought there were a couple in POF.
There
I thought
are
I found
a
one or
few
two.
in Dragonfall. I think that was the first place they started
Yeah.
reincorporating
Okay.
Heart of Thorns masteries.
There's a few Heart of Thorn stuff in a few maps.
I was going to say, because I always get super excited when I find a mushroom, because I'm always like, oh my god, where does that go?
Boring.
Yeah.
Do you have something to say, Zach?
No, it's just I was gonna. They did include the Spider-Man vine thing as well on the map too, and it's like on Dragonfall specifically, and it's like I wonder if they can bring it back even further for later.
I just want to keep that as a bundle item, but that's something for another post, for another topic. So the last thing, and this is my own tinfoil kind of thing, is weren't the named NPCs that were able to go into your group in Guild Wars 1 called champions?
No, I think they're called heroes.
Heroes? Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Oh, henchmen and heroes. Yeah.
So I had a moment where I'm just like, are they gonna do the thing? Because I thought it was champions, not heroes. So That's on me for missing that up, but I don't know how you'd be able to like plan out builds like that. Like I don't know how the AI would even work in Guild Wars 2 with action combat. Like yeah, it was kind of action combat-y in Guild Wars 1, but like it was still a lot of like cast on target for AoE.
Well,
so it was easier for the AI to respond to stuff, but
well, we do have AI that fight with us in the story, like Bram or Logan. At times, it's just that they didn't use like a bunch of skills. It was more auto attack based or shield based,
yeah.
or like they used skills when a certain action was being performed, like in the fight type of deal.
Yeah.
I don't think it's beyond the scope of possibility, but it definitely would need more than what's already there.
Yeah. But that's Icebrood Saga champions. Any final thoughts, friends?
Yay!
There was I mean when we saw when I saw the roadmap for the first time, there were I mean I would say as far as like reception to this, as far as like what I've seen in the community, mostly positive, but there were definitely some aspects to it where a lot of people thought they were kind of bare bones because because of how simplistic the roadmap looks in terms of just looking
Oh.
one part or the other and the other.
Right.
But I would say for that kind of reception to it, like if people really thought about, I think that they're not going to just outright show like point for point everything that is going to happen with each release.
Right.
We don't know for sure if, because I know that there's definitely this aspect of, oh, we want more fractals, more raids, more this, more that, more content that we're familiar with. But
Mhm.
I think that I don't necessarily think that they're gone per se. I think that they're going to be spruced into these chapters. Maybe here a bit here and there, but right now we're only got basically just a summary of what we're
Yeah.
gonna get.
I was gonna say, I would think if like there's an outline of all the content we're gonna get, we just got the titles of each section essentially, and not all the information that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I realized that it. Now I think about it, it's more of a like a PVE aspect of a roadmap. It's like with minus fractals and raids, obviously, but I can see how people are like, oh, what about PvP? What about War's World? I get that,
That's true.
Right.
but just strictly speaking, PvE wise, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I feel like the PvP and World versus World updates are harder to give a timeline for, just because the things that they are working on with both, especially World versus World, are so massive that like I don't know.
That and
Like,
it's kind of hard to really anticipate a release for something like that.
Right.
So.
Like you have to kind of work at it until you get it working, and like I know they don't want to like release too much information too soon about that kind of stuff, because if they change how it works, then that is always a thing, So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I am honestly people complaining about how bare bones it looks. This is what a roadmap is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like very broad strokes on timing, very few details. This is what it's supposed to look like. When other people call things roadmap, when you look at like BioWare talking about Anthem, what they had was not a roadmap. That was too specific for a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
This is a roadmap. This is why subject to change was bolded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I am happy to see that they're communicating this. I have zero problems with this.
Just as a side note, I tried to look up Anthem stuff like in the last week or so, and it's like I haven't had any news since June, I think.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be a 2.0 build, and like no one's heard of anything, I think.
Because they don't know what to do with it.
That's rough. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents. So
We'll talk more about that in after show, maybe.
Yeah.
But, tinfoil hat moment from Red Wolf. What if Champions release means the Elder Dragons Champions are released? To QoL Encounter getting a new rework. Nah,
Again.
Not.
I don't know.
Maybe.
They did
Although
say
I
that there was a
really
reason
like
for
how
that,
it
so,
works now.
yeah. But
I would be sad.
moving on to other topics, we have stuff getting released. Now we've got stuff being taken back because the Guild Wars 2 coming to Steam thing that we talked about a bit ago is now being pushed back indefinitely so that they can focus on End of Dragons.
Which is interesting on multiple levels.
Yeah. I don't think that's a big loss, honestly.
No.
It's just I think it might actually be better just because it's a market they can tap into at any time. I know, like with Apex Legends, they were going to be on Steam, and they said coming soon, coming soon. I never knew when it was coming out, but then it's actually out next week, I think. Now, so it's something that can wait for sure.
Yeah, no, I meant it was more interesting just because they announced it was coming, and like it was like, oh, that'd be really interesting. And I don't think before they announced it, anybody really had any thought about it being on Steam in the first place. So then there was the whole talk with like layoffs and stuff and restructuring of projects, and then they announced that they're pushing back the Steam release. It just makes me wonder if that was one of the things they restructured, was the project of getting what they needed ready to be on Steam. I don't know what that entails on the back end, but I would assume it's not just as simple as being like, hey, game on Steam, go, you know?
I think one of the things we talked about when they first started going on, like when they first released that they were going to go on to Steam, is that all of the transactions have to go through Steam if it's the client that is on Steam.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically a lot of systems work that's behind the scenes that those systems devs could be, elsewhere.
Right.
So
it's weird to me. It makes me wonder why they decided to announce the Steam release when they did. Like,
because I feel like it's hard, maybe. So sorry.
I feel like that is not likely. Like, I mean, if they thought it wasn't going to be difficult, then I don't know what to tell them. But like it's a weird thing to me because they knew they had the expansion coming up and they're working on that and focusing on that and stuff. So like, I don't know. I'm just curious about the resource utilization and where they put it and like how the choices to release. I'm just really curious why they chose to release the news about Steam when they did, because it's not like anybody was like yelling about it or asking about it or demanding it. It was kind of like out of the blue.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think they were just planning on doing it early, no matter what. I think they were going to do it like if they release End of Dragons along with the Steam thing, that's just money right there, easy.
Right. That's true.
But if they see that they're behind, it's like, do you want to really focus on the Steam one and then get End of Dragons out, or like that's kind of like the balance that they have to do. But I think if they release it on Steam after, like if they finish End of Dragons and then they work on Steam and then they both get it out at the same time with the expansion, that's great. If they get it out afterwards, then it's like, hey, we have a new expansion as well, so it's fairly new, so it's like people will be interested. So it's kind of a win-win in that scenario.
I did just check the Steam page and it still says planned release November 2020. So they haven't updated that yet.
Oh boy.
Yeah, basically, if they want to do a good release on Steam, I think they want to have a good momentum of hype for it to be released. I think if they were to release it this next month or November, it would get a boost. But depending on the community, because we would not know the exact reaction of how the Steam community would react to the game. I'm assuming generally positive, but whenever there's some hype into it, it gets released, then it dies down, then it dies down, then it dies down, and depending on how long we get a new, when the release date of the End of Dragons is, you know, that'll keep going down and down until then essentially. And
Yeah, I was also thinking it's just that Guild Wars 2 is a very unique MMO from other MMOs. So if people are coming from other MMOs and coming in, and the first thing I think is people who want direction don't really have that direction outside of personal story, right? Or besides the story of the expansion. So it's like, what do? There's no questing really. So it's also trying to get that. I think that's kind of like where you might have that mixed reaction on Steam type of deal. But I do think it's safer for them to work on it after End of Dragons is done, just because the payoff is safer, I guess, in that case.
Right. And I think it's a fair point that it doesn't really matter when they release it on Steam. They'll still get probably the same bump that they would get from doing that regardless. You know?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way.
I personally think they should just release End of Dragons on Steam, just because there's always been a lot of confusion when there's a new expansion, what I get, what I don't get type of deal. So if they release Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire, which is everything up to Path of Fire, and then they have to buy the living story afterwards, and then they get the expansion, it kind of get, that weird confusion.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I feel like it'd just be better to do End of Dragons one shot on Steam and then take it from there.
I don't want that, because I don't. I want, if they do the Steam release, I'm totally cool with that, but I don't want to in any way have to tie my Guild Wars 2 account to Steam. I'm really happy just having it.
You can't.
Yeah.
If you already have
but if you're saying that they're only releasing End of Dragons through Steam,
no.
That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
No. What I'm saying is, if they release it on Steam, they're gonna release End of Dragons like outside, like normal,
standalone, yeah.
Right.
But I'm saying when they release Guild Wars 2 on Steam, I think they should do it with End of Dragons, just because of the confusion of how like living story episodes are obtained, because that's always like I usually see one or two threads about that, just that confusion about how to obtain the story. Because normally, because with WoW, right, you usually get the previous story. Am I wrong about that? Or
when you buy the newest expansion, it has all the past expansions with it, basically.
Yeah, with the stories. But the thing is, expansion Guild Wars 2 story is different from Living World story. So people naturally assume that they get the Living World story that was attached, like to the in-between stuff, but they don't.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay.
So basically, us, the people who have been playing with a standalone Guild Wars 2 account for the longest time, we're not going to see anything change.
Right.
With how End of Dragons is releasing. I kind of understand Age's point at this point. It's just like, let's not deal with having people buy Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire and then like just like a short time later also hand them a new expansion that they also must buy. So,
yeah. In addition to the Icebrood Saga episodes that they'd have to buy if they missed out.
Yeah. Like if this was at like the start of Icebrood Saga, like if they were dropping the Steam release at the start of Icebrood Saga, would have been fine.
Exactly.
But at this point, yeah, I'd say I agree with you, Age. Just wait for End of Dragons to release. So
Steam release and EFD release at the same time be a much bigger PR move. Yeah.
So I was responding to that, and I was actually about to say, not really, because not in my opinion. Because yeah, you can put them together and be like, all this stuff. But the thing is that there's only so much coverage out there for Guild Wars 2 stuff, and like putting it and like packaging it together. It might feel like at the moment it might be a bigger, like logically, I understand that assumption, but like it's not going to get them any more coverage than just the expansion release or just Steam. So like, I feel like if they do one and they'll get all of that coverage focused on that thing, and then they do the second one separate, they'll get all the that will be a big thing in and of itself. So I feel like the better play is to separate them a little bit.
Really?
I get
Yeah,
it.
from a PR standpoint, just because like if you throw both of those things out at most of the press, they will pick one or the other to focus on. One of them will get pushed to the sidelines. So I don't think they would get as much of a boost from it as you would logically think you would.
That's interesting because I just feel like if you put out Guild Wars 2 and then like 6 to 8 months later you put out an expansion, it kind of feels weird to me. I don't know, I might be wrong about it, but I do understand the PR move. It's a pretty good PR move.
I would say if they
consumer-wise.
were going to do them separate, they would want to do End of Dragons first and then put it on Steam. Not the other way around. If you did it the other way around, I agree with you. That would be weird and it would probably cause other problems. Yeah. But I think to get the most like PR out of it and attention without things getting buried would be to do End of Dragons and then Steam not that long after.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because that would actually there are people who monitor like new MMOs going up on Steam specifically.
Yep.
So So like having that be its own thing instead of just lumping that in with End of Dragons release would be sensible.
Yeah, that is a good PR move actually.
Okay.
Not so sure if this particular note makes sense because I've only seen like some discussions on this, but I'm not so sure if it's a technical issue or not. But maybe they need more time to prepare the servers for a potential influx of new players.
That's true.
Because I've been seeing some of this myself, where the server seems to be acting a little wonky, a little bit of especially like apparently in some maps, because probably in a later note they'll mention something like this. But yeah, there has been definitely some signs of server stability, and if they tried to launch it in, they try to launch Guild Wars 2 with through Steam and knows if there's an influx of players, how the servers are going to handle that many players. And
right.
Yeah, that was the thing they launched last week with they said that their server stability checks didn't really live up to the way they wanted it, so they need to keep looking at it. So it's possible that might have been pushing the delay of the Steam release.
True.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Either way, like it's something you want to be stable. It's got to have a good quality of life. Which, speaking of quality of life, there was a patch that released on Tuesday.
Oh God.
I did it. I did it.
Congratulations.
You did. I almost threw up there. So yeah, good job.
So, few general things. They removed duplicate level 78 crafted exotic backpack recipes, which I'll admit I never noticed.
Yeah, me
there were
neither.
duplicate recipes for them, but then again, I don't exactly look in the tab that shows the crafting recipes all that often.
Right.
The Mystic Forge refill button has been improved and will no longer lose track of an item stack if the output matches one of the input items. The Mystic Forge refill button will now use the first matching item stack in your inventory.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
Some inventory menu options have been moved out of the menu and into buttons for better visibility. And finally, the categories listed under the equipment section of the hero panel have been reorganized. The arrangement is now equipment, wardrobe, outfits, dyes, glider skins, mounts, novelties, miniatures, finishers, mail carriers. Which
interesting priority.
Well,
at least for some parts.
Most to least, pretty much.
Yeah.
Of what people access.
Because mounts and novelties were at the bottom because they were like the last things added.
Yeah, like they would add, if there's something new, it would be at the bottom, so it makes sense. But now it's like prioritizing what would be considered more important, which I agree with some of those, but it's like,
I think it's
interesting.
I think they just grab stats about what people access the most, and obviously it's equipment, wardrobe, outfits, and dyes, because when you change your wardrobe or outfit, you probably change your dyes too. Glider skins, mounts making sense as the next ones because they're cosmetics. Glider skins are
Commonly used
cheaper, so it's like easier to swap, I guess. Novelties, miniatures are just like fun things to pop out every now and then. Finishers, generally, I've stuck with the same finisher for like 4 years now. So, and melee carriers, I just don't change often at all. So, makes sense to me. The interesting one was what the inventory menu options have been moved out of the menu. And that was very annoying because I didn't read patch notes and I was just trying to like mask.
I am still trying to
deposit.
get used to that.
Me too, yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Where's my? Oh, right.
I'm like,
I'm currently in the game looking at the options because I want a way to just get rid of the compact button. So for everybody in chat who hasn't looked at their inventory, the deposit all collectibles and compact inventory options have been moved out of the little gear drop down and then into buttons all by themselves next to the gear. So you have deposit all collectibles, compact, and then the gear button for the remaining 4 options. I want an option to just completely get rid of compact because every time I have clicked compact, it has been a mistake.
Yes.
And I have not wanted to click compact. I don't want compact to exist. Let me remove it.
It's the exact same problem I have in WoW whenever I accidentally click the button to clean up my bags, and then it's never how I want my bags organized, and then I have to fix it all. And it's terrible.
Click that button. It's terrible, but
being able to disable it would be nice.
That deposit button is very annoying to get used to, just because I'm like, click, show rarity, hide rarity. Oh, damn it! And then I just fix it back.
It's 8 years. 8 years.
Yeah.
Having to. So it's.
I liken it to learning instead of clicking your abilities, learning the keybinds. Like, it will be better in the long run, but in the short term, it will be frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, well. It's a good change. I like it.
Yep.
Yep. There's no option. They got rid of the checkbox option in the general options area. I can't get rid of that. Oof.
So next quality of life update. How to disable compact.
Yeah, really. Now the next one, the next big thing that came out of this patch, the existence of consumables that equip players with high control skills creates an unintended play pattern involving combat with the inventory panel open. It's our goal that encounters with substantial defiance bars be addressed by build changes rather than reliance on consumables. And for this reason, we are disabling several items in dungeon and fractal content. The following consumable items are no longer usable in dungeons or fractals: metal rod, power matrix, rock, wooden plank, sentinel rifle, and termite shovel. I saw a lot of people on Twitter not terribly happy about this for like the fractal crew.
Really?
I can't say I'm surprised that this happened, because I don't think any of these items are from outside of the vanilla game. Like, release Guild Wars 2.
Well, I mean, we've used like throwing rocks at things to stun them, I think, throughout the game. Like, it comes up here and there.
Right, but this is like items in your inventory that you double click to equip, not like stuff you find out in the world.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So
it does make sense to me. Just, I've never really depended on those for dungeons or fractals or anything.
No,
like
it never would have occurred to me either. And like, I don't know. I don't know how you argue that those things were intended to be used in that way. Like, they're intended to be used out in the world to do the things that are there, but not necessarily in dungeons and fractals and whatnot.
there are people who would say that if it's in the game, it's intended to be used in all parts of the game.
No.
I
think assuming that, I mean, devs are great. A lot of them are smart and like they think of crazy things, but assuming that any dev will come up with every possible use for every item that a player could possibly come up with is just, it's ridiculous. Like, that's never going to happen.
That's why QA
Thing.
is an incredibly big department.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's like the first time I've heard of like these kinds. I'm not so sure I would call them exploits or anything, but it's
No.
it's
I mean,
definitely an odd little thing to do. I've never heard of this up until recently, although yeah.
Wouldn't class it as an exploit either, but yeah.
Well, it's something that was in the game, and I totally get that. Like I can't imagine walking into, say, the new Fractal, and like the bits where you have to, break the Defiance bar, and like those are big parts of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I pull a plank of wood out of my inventory and whack the NPC over the head with it.
Right.
Like, and it's one of those things where it's just like, it gives you the ability, and there's no real cooldown. Like, the cooldown is on the item skill, not like the use of the item. And those abilities tend to be like short cooldowns, because if you miss, you're like, if you hit, the item breaks and you just get that one hit. But if you miss, like the whole point behind the consumable items when they were designed, I think, is to not waste your consumable. You get the stun off or you drop it, which is you consciously making the choice to discard the item you just used. So just kind of glossing over build problems with using old consumable items, I think is totally fine for them to gloss over. Now, if they want to reintroduce these kinds of consumable items, I feel like this would need a UI update. Like, you would need to be able to set a button on an interface, like not a special action key. Like, if they wanted to allow this stuff to be back in, you'd have to have, like, another button, because, there are fights in Fractals and dungeons and stuff that have the special action key come up. Well, maybe not dungeons, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So you'd want to, like, have an actual dedicated UI for basically what are inventory-based item kits. And I don't know if they want to take the time to do that, but that would be the thing that would need to happen in order for these to come back in context of Guild Wars 2 combat.
Right. Well, that was the thing that kind of, to me, proved that, like, it wasn't an intended use, because, like, I don't know how you argue that it's intended that as you're fighting and stuff, you're supposed to have your inventory open and be using things out of it. It's an mostly action game. Like, you're meant to see what's happening around you and react to it. Like, having your inventory take up space on your screen is reducing the ability to play the game, like, as it is. So I don't know, that's just the way it is right now. It's a very weird concept. Like, I mean, ingenious for people to think of it, but I don't understand the argument that it was intended to be used like that.
Don't come into their game mode and tell them how to play.
Right.
Yes,
I can just imagine the conversations. All right, you got ascended gear? Yes. You got all the maximum agony resistance? Yes. Do you have the rocks? What are you talking about? Do you have the rocks?
We need the rocks
for this run, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like, I remember doing AC Story, like, when the game released, and, like, there were rocks all over the ground. Like, you had to deal with the lovers because you needed to use them to knock back. You had to use it on the ranger trainer, because you'd have to CC him while he was up on the platform to keep him from, like, doing a lot of AoEs and shit. And there were rocks all over the place there. So I just, like, if there are items in the world to pick up and use, those are intended as part of the encounter design.
Like within that dungeon or fractal.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But, like, you're going to walk into the Citadel of Flame and you're going to whip out a wooden plank. It's like, no, that wasn't sitting on the ground there. You're not going to find wood in Citadel.
Not. Something has to burn, right?
I think it's mostly lava and other people. And char fur, which probably means it smells terrible. But that's really all that. And I feel for the people who had strats based around this, because it's ingenuity to think of these items that exist in the game. Like,
Clever use of game mechanics.
it's not it. Well, that people will use that phrase to try to excuse exploiting, but like,
Yes.
I would say this is like you said, it's not quite an exploit, because like it's really just literally using an item as it was intended.
Yeah.
It just
Out of the context it was intended.
Greenit said, "Okay, that's enough now."
Yes.
and they're
You
allowed to
guys
say
had
that.
your fun.
Yeah. But the final thing we had is just some minor gem store updates with this patch. We had the Darkwing Throne for 600 gems.
Wait.
Which is stupid extra. Like, if you want to feel like Dracula.
Castlevania called. They want their throne back.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like Konami's doing anything with it right now.
That's true. That is really true.
So
If you get rid of the satin red part, it could be like Lich King-esque.
Oh. Yeah.
Or just make a Norn big enough to cover it.
Yeah.
But the remainder of the stuff is for a limited time. The Awakened Mounts pack returns to the style category for 1,600 gems. For a limited time, the Magic Carpet Glider combo, the Shattered Bloodstone Ascender combo, the Electromagnetic Ascender Descender combo return to the style category of the gem store for 500 gems apiece. So, toy stuff. And the Awakened Mounts pack, cool. And this is the only real new thing. And I remember talking about this on Wednesday with people in chat for Zero to Hero. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, where I cry through ranked PvP. Talk about that on the next topic. But it's just these chairs. These chairs are getting a little excessive.
Fashion Wars,
More
bro.
epic. Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you mean there's too many chairs, or that they're getting too grand?
Too big. Like, the original chairs weren't exactly like small, but we're not talking like bigger than a mount.
Mm-hmm.
This is goddamn massive.
Some people want thrones.
First time I saw this, I thought it was like, oh my god, did they add a new musical instrument, a pipe organ?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, never mind.
That would be amazing, though. They totally need to add a pipe organ now that you mention it.
It's like, no,
That would be incredible.
They just sucker punched Dracula and yeeted his throne out the window and jumped after it. But like
that Doom chair is starting to look nothing. Like,
I was just thinking about that. Like, the Doom throne is still like relatively confined to the footprint of a character in the game. Like, it doesn't really extend much. Like, if you T-pose the character and spin them around, the circumference of that area, like the area that covers, is not that big, and the Doom throne is also not that big. But this is, and the Vermilion throne coming out of the Black Lion chest, like, it's getting a little like extra, guys.
When you think there's not enough edge, ANET pulls a new one.
Literally put swords on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, it's just, I have no further words about it. It's just, it is what it is.
It's final boss, the chair.
That's that's pretty accurate. So any further thoughts on, the gem store stuff?
Nope.
No? Okay. So our next bit here is something Age dropped right as the show was setting up. Is got a video here from oh crap, I had the Reddit link up, from Reddit user Orvidos, I'm gonna link it because I'm not gonna play the sound on it because we will get DMCA'd to hell and back because of the music used.
Yeah.
But it's somebody messing with bot tendencies in PvP, and I kind of love it. So this is what I was talking about when I was crying in ranked, because this is what we're dealing with. Ranked season started this past Tuesday, so everybody's doing their placements and trying to get in. And according to the comments on this thread, it's silver and low gold is the problem. So one of the things you'll notice is the guy Orvidos is playing a Dragon Hunter. He's running Trapper runes. He drops the trap and goes invisible, or steps off the point, and the bot reacts because if you're standing on a point on the map, you get the crossed swords for the point being captured. The bot is reacting to the point being captured, and you'll just see them balling up. Like here, he goes stealth, and the bot walks up and then immediately walks away.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's due to many things. So one, definitely reporting system. Definitely need a better reporting system to report these types of things. Two, better bot detection system. Obviously, these are bots that are doing very linear movements and very obviously non-game player related movements. And this is, I don't know how this one was coded. I don't know if all bots act like this, because this is really weird. Because you would need to detect if capped, then capture a point.
Right.
But this one just like literally goes where an enemy is. Because technically, I think the bot was planning if I am going to fight 1v1, I am going to have perfect, skill reactions because I'm a bot, right? So, and you could literally spam everything in quick succession properly, things like that. But
you'd be
yeah,
looking for like the same intervals in between activated skills, because like unless the bot is like specifically coded to have a druid trapper, no, it's a dragon hunter trapper, Darkalba. But like the bot, like unless it's a particularly well coded bot, it's gonna have the exact same like intervals in between every activated skill. It's gonna have the same setup for the skill order.
Yeah, that's I don't know. It's a problem. It's I think it's more relevant, obviously, in silver, bronze, silver, in my opinion, because I feel like does it happen in gold? Do you have bots?
That's what people in the comments for this thread are saying, is that low gold is having people botting. So
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense in plat and above, just because people can definitely play around that. If I see the bot like that, I'm just gonna play around that easily. Especially since I'm a thief, and if I see that mechanic, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna stealth, and just, that's all I have to do. But it's basically taking advantage of people just not having the knowledge gap to like in bronze and silver, I guess, to fight back between those things. So it's just taking advantage of the
I was
skill
gonna
gap.
say, I think that people who are in the lower levels don't PvP that much also probably are less apt to realize what's going on in that situation,
Yeah, that's true.
that, and it's just, I suppose this kind of goes with me saying that when I got into PvP, my first like mental gymnastics to get over like dealing with other people is to just imagine everybody else's sophisticated bots. So
yeah.
But like one of the things that I've always noticed players do is like, you'll see the player from the POV here is like there's always some kind of movement. Like I feel like there's always some kind of like strafing back and forth on a point. Like there's always some kind of what I call nervous movement.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Because like most of the time people when they're on points, they're also looking at what's going on around them to know if they need to be ready for something or where they're going next.
We would hope, at least.
Yeah, it's the same type of thing in FPS games. So if you round a corner, get instantly destroyed, okay, maybe it was like a one-off thing. But if that happens like 3, 4, 5 times, then
Yeah.
you're kind of suspecting it's a bot with like auto aim assist or something like that.
Right.
So it's like looking out for these things, and I think Arlie's right in terms of just need to know what to look for in order to figure out if it's a bot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's kind of disappointing, really. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just getting really annoyed. Like, and the other big problem I have with PvP is, I'll admit, like, took basically a year off from ranked. Like, almost the entirety of 2020, I didn't play ranked at all. I ended like high gold 3 plat 1 for my skill area. I'm in gold 1 again, roughly. That's where I ended the past season. I'm only 7 games into my placements now, but like, there is this problem where you'll see the mid fight at start lose. So we're talking like a minute, 2 minutes into the game.
At
and
most, yeah.
People will just quit.
Yep.
And I feel like one of the problems that you were talking about, Age, is that bots taking advantage of people in lower ranks, is that you've got people who can't adapt to like the Zerg Rush kind of style if you end up against a full team of bots where they just kind of glob around the map and beat the crap out of you. People see that and they still run in one at a time, and they just die to the blob
instead of focusing on going where they're not.
Yeah.
You know?
And then people get angry and it's just like, I'm done. And it's just like,
Yeah. Usually if you're losing the mid fight, you would try to back off because you're obviously going to lose it. If it's painfully obvious you're going to lose it, you got to try to back off and you try to do a 2-2 split, like one far, one home. Most people home too far usually, just because you can split them up apart, and then if you have a thief, they can try to get mid again or something like that. But it's kind of just regrouping and trying not to take a total loss, because if you lose the mid fight, they already have far. They're going to push into your home easy.
Yep.
But yeah.
But other than that, I don't know, Zach, if you play PvP at all, if you had any thoughts on this.
Not as much as to be honest. It's just that I'm sort of in that same vein when I play any type of PvP game, not necessarily just Guild Wars 2, but I like team composition, knowing my players, being part of a team that I know of them well. That's why I prefer to play with friends rather.
You know, like solo.
I know that rank doesn't quite allow that. You can only get at least one partner, I think. But it's that aspect. It's like I don't have control over necessarily who I play with. That's why I don't necessarily like ranked as much as playing unranked, because at least if I were to play PvP again, I would play it casually. But if I do want to get better, then I would at least want to rely on a team that I am a part of, rather than doing your solo. Yeah, exactly. Because on that occasion, when we have teammates that don't cooperate, give up, or anything like that, then that kind of demotivates me from just continuing. Then, so like, why be negative Nancy? Just let's push. Because Guild Wars 2, as much as there are many moments where you can win a game landslide style. There are clutch moments. Like you can make a full swing without you even realizing. Like I've even had clips of previous games where I played PvP with one of my friends. I think it was in that pirate map. I forgot the name of it, but we were like. Yeah, exactly. And we were like 50 fights behind. We were defending ourselves, and then we got the last bell, and then we clutched it. Like it only took like 10 seconds for us to win because we just got ahead, and there were basically like 5 points behind.
Yeah.
So
a couple weeks ago, I had a 502 v 501 game.
Oh wow!
So it was tied at 500 and it had to wait for the next point tick. So it was one of those things where it's just like for that brief second, if somebody would have died, either team would have won because it's 5 points for a kill. So like,
I really like those matches. I really like
Me
those.
too.
like it's exciting, like it's fun, and I just sit here and I'm like, so you like I actually got into a small type off with the dude. And he's like, I only play to win, and I'm like, so you want the like I didn't say so you want the game handed to you literally every time. Granted, he was playing Hollowsmith, which is currently still a little bit busted in the damage department, but they nerfed it in one of the last balance patches. But it's just one of those things where it's like, that's not the point of ranked. The point of ranked is you're supposed to lose in ranked, because how do you learn if you don't lose?
So the problem is it's people's mentality of like, if you are losing, they're not thinking about how to bring it back. And I've encountered this. This is basically the reason for people just like going from a losing state to just a pure loss, just because they either give up or they don't really think about how to come back. They just throw against the wall and just like smash and they just keep losing, and they're not really thinking about how to bring it back. And that's why I kind of like playing Thief in PvP, just because I can manipulate that type of play style. But if in Guild Wars 2 in particular, if you're losing like that, typically you can kind of like death dive like 1v2, 1v3 far, just because people are constantly going to be there, and you're like, I'm not giving up. Because I played, I didn't know at the time, but I played with Toker once, and we were kind of like losing at the beginning, and he just kept pushing far, and like the rest of the team were pushing like home and mid, and it's like it worked really well. So
yeah, I do that a lot too.
It's a valid strategy because you distract them with their home point. It's one of the reasons why I like playing like bruiser types, like people with like builds with survivability, because I can go in and I'm pulling 2-3 people off of the rest of the map, and if my team isn't doing anything with it, well, it's not my fault. I'm pulling the attention of 3 separate people and surviving for longer than like 2 seconds. So
yeah, I also I think some of the mentality comes from with the if you lose mid in the beginning, just lose the game, because a lot of people come with the idea that it's going to take a lot longer to fight back and gain back and win that match than it would be to just lose that match outright really quickly, get in another game where they might be able to win quickly.
yeah,
that works for, and I think that's why battle royales are so popular, because if you die, it's like you just reset.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. The popularity
Really?
of battle royales now, like
that's
I lost, I can just quit now.
That's especially why I thought battle royales were pretty popular, just because like if you die, you just reset, you find a new game, or like even in I've been playing a lot of Apex lately, and just like if people like go down, they just like half the time they just leave and find a new game, and I'm like,
they don't even wait to fully die.
Yeah, no, they don't even wait. Or if they fully die and like there's a chance for me to like pick them up, they will like just flat out leave. I've had games like that, but I've also had games like that when it was like it was just me and another person and we won the whole thing. It's like it happens, but it's just like people get impatient. They just want a full clean sweep. So if you lose the first fight on your dive down, it's like they'll just leave and reset. But it's fine in like games like PUBG where it's like 1 versus 100, where it's like it's your decision, right?
Yeah,
like you're not affecting anybody else.
You're not affecting anyone else, obviously. But if it's a team battle royale, it's different, obviously. But
to bring up Dark Alba's point before we move on to the next topic, to ban build sites, there's literally no way to do so.
No.
So yeah, there's build sites allow people who don't really know how to play PvP or just want a build to like do
give
well
some
in.
Guidance.
Yeah. It's not really a bad thing at all.
Yeah, like
the way it's like, you know, it's the way people use them sometimes is what makes them bad. And like the approach that some people take with them rather than the tool itself is bad.
Yeah, it's like if somebody went on to meta battle, they grabbed, they wanted to play Soul Beast, and they grab the thing that's marked as meta for Conquest for Soul Beast, and they walk in to a fight, and they're like, I didn't immediately win, I pressed all of my buttons. This is supposed to be the meta build, why didn't I win? Well, it's just like, because you have to learn. Like, you still have to put some effort in up here to make these do the thing on the keyboard to make the thing in the game win. I don't know. Like, it's one of my biggest problems with ranked is that people go into ranked and treat it like it's unranked. Now, granted, I am guilty of this a little bit because I'll go into ranked queues cold on a build and do all my learning in ranked queue for a build. Mm-hmm. But at the very least, I'm walking in wanting, like, I'm trying to make myself learn. So, like, it's something there. But, like...
Yeah. And not to mention, like, the idea of just banning it like that. Like, technically, with every game that exists, there's bound to be discussions. And basically, build sites are basically just streamlined discussions of what could potentially be the best thing for you to do a game. So that's basically kind of cutting that discussion right off the bat. And at the same time, sure, the whole idea of like using meta builds can kind of create that that notion, a little bit of toxicity, I would say, in that aspect, where if you don't play this particular build, you're not playing at you're not playing to win or anything like that. But even then, you can get one of those builds, and you can do one of two things. One, actually three things. One, use the build, practice it, and be better at it. Two, modify it for your own style. Or three, just create one of your own. You'd be surprised if you could just come up with a combo that nobody's thought of before and somehow get a win.
Well, that's what I was going to say. One of the cool things that I like about doing off-meta builds sometimes is because people will see you and expect you to be doing whatever the meta build is, and then you're doing other things. It throws people off, and it can give you an advantage sometimes.
That was
anti-meta.
that was my biggest advantage, I think, when I first started playing, because I was playing longbow, shortbow, ranger, which worked. Yeah. Somehow, but this is back before Heart of Thorns, so take that how you will.
Were you using bears too?
No, I was not. I was using Crichton Drakehound and Hawk.
Okay.
But I had something and I lost it. Damn it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Plus, sometimes I see the meta. I mean, both a good and a bad thing, but if you're interested in, basically, there's one huge negative if you play a meta build. You're predictable.
Yeah.
That's actually that's what it was. When I was playing Hollowsmith for the one of the seasons of Zero to Hero, every time I ran into a Hollowsmith, I knew exactly what that Hollowsmith was going to do, because you would build up heat, you'd go into Light Forge or into Photon Forge, and you'd use the exact same skill rotation. Mm-hmm. Like, literally every time a Hollowsmith went into combat, it was the exact same rotation. Right now, it's still the same thing, it's just grenades now instead of going into Photon Forge, because grenades are kind of busted still, even though they nerfed the power coefficient on the tool belt skill. Like, it's just, that's the problem, and that's not necessarily a meta problem. I could see, like, I even saw sword shield engineers, like sword shield Hollowsmiths, which...
That was fun.
What's that?
That was fun. I didn't play in PvP, but it's just fun to run around.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's one of those things where it's just like you didn't see it in PvP, but I knew what they were going to do the second they got into Photon Forge. The second that shimmery orange-blue hexagon field went up on their character model, I knew exactly the rotation of skills they were going to use.
Isn't it slam into spin into, like, fire?
Yeah.
The pew pew?
It's, I want to say it's 3-5-4. Because it's the shockwave attack that gives you barrier every time it hits. Yeah. And then you'd hit you'd have the trait that gives you stability whenever it hits people. And then you'd go into the 5, which is the giant AoE knockdown. and then you'd go into the 4, which is the dual pistol with the burn stacks.
Okay. Yeah, I mixed up one of the skills, but okay.
I could be wrong on the skill locations too. No, because 2 is the jump forward that leaves the swiftness pad. But
because what I thought it was the giant AoE slam into the spin to give you stability, and then you pew pew.
Yeah, you'd start with the spin, because if you took the stability trait, it gave you 2 pulses, so you'd use that to guarantee the
slam.
So, but that's one of the things with PvP is like you have to kind of figure out stuff. Like you have to see what your opponent is doing. So I guess that's more on the developer side of things. But this is more getting into the weeds of PvP build design. We have one more thing before Community Corner. Anything else with PvP before we move on, folks? No?
No.
Yeah, it's like PvP ranked. It's a scary story. Like it always has been. It always will be. You know, speaking of scary stories, we got whoever's controlling the Guild Wars 2 Twitter account telling scary stories where you get to choose the adventure.
Ooh.
Oh, come on, Age. That one was good.
Yeah, it was. Okay. I'll give you that one.
So this week, starting... I gotta back up my browser here. Starting on October 27th, the official Guild Wars 2 Twitter account started doing a Choose Your Own Adventure tweet where you could vote and they'd give a little blurb. And currently they haven't posted the October 31st one, but October 30th has happened. There's some screaming going on from yesterday's tweet, and I personally have to wonder where this is going. And honestly, I think this is kind of cool. It fits with the Halloween stuff, and I was a fan of Choose Your Own Adventure books as a kid, so...
I mean, is there anybody who read those books who didn't like them? They were amazing.
The number of times I turned to a page and it was just like, your party is dead.
Yes.
Or you have died.
All
and it's just
died.
Like, okay, sure, fine, great. We're dead.
Try again.
Yeah. Dude, I spent so many times on those books because every book I had to know every possible outcome with the choices. So
this
like I'd
explains
mark
your
the pages.
infatuation with BioWare games.
Yeah.
Except Anthem, of course.
I still say the core of the game is a really good game. I have a lot of fun playing the game, but you know.
Yeah, I know. But this is like, I'm happy to see this kind of content coming out from Guild Wars 2. It's fun. It doesn't hurt anything. I'm sure there's somebody on Twitter complaining, it's like, why are you making these dumb stories instead of balancing the game? And I'm just like,
right.
I have yet to figure out. I haven't figured out how to strangle people through the internet. So I'm happy to see this kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Yep. Like it.
Any further thoughts, friends?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's great to see the community outreach of this. Speaking of the community...
I saw it coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Look, they're not all gems. I'm trying to do right by Deo while he's gone, okay? This week,
I respect it. I respect it.
This week in Community Corner, we have AFKQueen taking writing commissions. AFKQueen has been doing a whole thing with... she's been doing updates for us in the Mad Realms Discord. Link is down there in the description. Sylvari project she's got going on. We've been seeing some links on the character. Writing commissions are open. I'm confident enough in my skill that I could write something for others. I specialize in fiction, adventure, romance, and fantasy being my top 3. Price may change depending on research and type of commission, and DM if interested. Link is in chat. For y'all on YouTube, this will be in the description. I had no idea AFKQueen did writing.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Not see the fanfics.
I heard things. I have not seen the fanfics, no. I try to stay away from anything labeled the fanfics on the internet because there be dragons.
Yes, but there's a lot of really, really awesome stuff out there too. And sometimes you get anonymous submissions by writers of the actual games writing fan fiction, which is amazing.
So they write fanfics for their own games.
Yep.
Okay.
It's pretty amazing.
That's honestly pretty cool. I would never have thought. Isn't that like technically doing unpaid work?
I look at it as like them writing the stories that they're not actually able to write in the games, you know?
Okay, that's fair. I get that. So, good on you, AFK Queen, for, doing the thing, and I hope you have far too much work to handle, because if you love writing, it's just like, there you go. You've got stuff to do. Then, we have the Delusional Elitist Conquest Open, both EU and NA. PvP turn. Oh, wait, no, that's the Extra Life thing.
Oh,
next.
my God.
No, that's the wrong
Whoops.
goddamn link. I didn't press enter. I saved myself.
Good.
I did it. So, this is come watch EU's greatest. Battle it out for the lion's share of $1,000. Starting shortly, catch it live at Mighty Teapot on Twitch. Oh, this is going on like right meow. NA will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So, Teapot's channel, PvP tournament. We were talking constantly about PvP there, so like, go watch.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, on commenting for stuff like this, I'm really rather happy to see all of these like community-run PvP tournaments.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's really like they kind of there was I can't remember when they did it. They did the whole thing encouraging like there being a like community-run stuff, and they would kind of try to signal boost that. So I'm glad to see that the community PvP stuff is still happening.
Yes.
Yeah. And when Teapot's involved, there'll be like high quality assets and things like that.
Yep.
So
Right.
you'll get a good show out of it.
And then finally, next week, we have our very own Arlie streaming for Extra Life for MMORPG.
Yep.
There's the link for the thing on the page. Just got our page up. Go check it out. We'll have
Yes.
various streams going from 10 a.m. PST on 11/7 to 10 a.m. PST on 11/8. So 24 hours.
I was going to say, some people have actually filled in what games they're going to be streaming during those 24 hours. So it looks like we're going to have some Lord of the Rings streaming, some EVE Online. I'm going to be streaming Mass Effect 2 for a bit, Final Fantasy 14, and then I'm also going to stream Celesta some during that time.
So you didn't go with the jank that is Mass Effect 1?
It lost the poll, so
Okay.
yes, I'm going with Mass Effect 2. I'm very happy that Mass Effect lost, because I feel like I would have spent most of the time just being frustrated on old mechanics and the old ways things are working.
I do remember running as a full biotic character in that when I did my replay of the entire series, because I couldn't get the Quarians and the Geth to play nice. And biotics in 1 was terrible. It was awful. So I totally understand you being happy that Mass Effect 2 won.
Yes.
So go check that out next week. I don't know if Arlie...
I do like a Mass Effect 1 a little more than the other two. I don't know. It's just maybe there's some aspect of that I liked a little more than the other two. I think maybe it's because they streamlined it a little bit too far, at least into a direction that's no longer feels like a traditional RPG in that sense. But
right. My issue, I was gonna say, my issue is wholly that at this point I have a hard time playing games beyond a certain point back, just because the way we tell stories, the way gameplay mechanics happen, the way you just interact, like camera control is one thing. Like I've gotten so used to being able to pan around my camera. Anytime I play a game where that's like it's a 3D game and I can't do that, it drives me insane, because I want to be able to look out.
Didn't 1 require you to like actually turn your character in order to do that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so, there's all kinds of things like that. That's mostly the reason why I don't want to go back. It's also why I'm looking forward to the remaster, because I feel like they're going to address some of those issues to make things play more like modern games.
And it'll be on the
Be
Switch.
amazing. Yes.
Which immediately makes any game 50% better.
Yeah, I feel like every game should be on the Switch. If it's not on the Switch, it needs to be on the Switch. Like,
I mean, even Skyrim re-released on the Switch, so...
Right.
I think FIFA was the only one who was kind of meh.
I think that's because they enjoy their mirror effects entirely too much.
Ah.
Oh wait, no, that's Forza, not FIFA. My bad.
Right.
Nintendo might have poo-pooed their loot boxes, like governments are doing right now, but that's another topic entirely.
Yes.
Yes, including all the bugs had. Yes, for Skyrim. I mean, they're not bugs at this point; they're features.
Right. If they were to change it,
inextricably
people are
linked.
like, "That's not how that works." You know,
Like, that's
you
not
can't
how
fix it.
Skyrims. You have to have the bugs. But I believe that will be it for this week's episode of Talking Skritt. So, Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Arlie82, technically Twitch as well at Arlie82, but I haven't streamed on my own channel in a while, so, you know. I'm also Thursday nights on MMORPG's Twitch channel and Sunday mornings there too. Thursday night is WoW night, so I usually play something. Right now we're working through the Mists of Pandaria expansion, leveling alts. And then on Sundays, I pick a random game. We've been working on Celesta, which is an amazing and wonderful game. So, yay.
Awesome. We'll check her out. And then we also have Age. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Age Night Road. I'm not streaming right now, but I'm kind of in the middle of procuring, trying to get new assets and stuff. And I think I might start streaming again when new Spider-Man comes out. I haven't decided yet, since Cyberpunk got pushed a month. So,
Are you gnashing your teeth at the pushback of Cyberpunk?
No, I don't care.
Good. So you're a normal person. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just had to move my vacation days. That's about it.
Yeah.
See, it's just no yelling, no complaining about taking vacation days. You just move them. It's fine.
Unless you can't anymore because you did it 3 times already. But I understand. I understand that. But otherwise,
yeah. So awesome.
It's near the holidays, so you can just play under the holidays. It's fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, finally, ZeKrioX, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on twitch.tv/ZeKrioX. I also do have a Twitter, so if you guys want to keep up with me with either random stuff I talk about, or if you want to keep up with my streams, of course, you can follow me through there. I haven't been streaming as much as of late as well, because I've been kind of focused on upping my production, as if anybody has seen my streams have noticed. But just working on the kinks here and there, just fixing everything before I start streaming a little more often than I'm currently doing. So looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And I'm putting your links in chat because I'm a terrible person who forgot to set up the Streamlabs guest link before the show. It's not the most egregious thing that I screwed up this week, but and finally, you can find my own damn self screwing up the transitions again on Talking Skritt on twitch.tv/MadRealms on Wednesdays for the PvP stream 0 to Hero. You can also find me on Twitter at MouthAnisMMO, where recently I've just been dragging Twitch because I signed the petition to remove mid-roll ads, and that thing is still getting updated, and because I voted to remove mid-roll ads, I still get updates every time somebody posts an update. There have been 5 updates today that people are still getting mid-roll ads.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when they've completed the test and they're still rolling out, so I don't know. Also, you'll see random pictures of both my cat and my dog, and me retweeting the Talking Skritt and Mad Realms accounts when we go live and do stuff. Then, finally, you can find us live on Tuesdays for random ass games. The VODs for those go up on Thursdays at noon, which aren't in any particular order. Wednesdays, Zero to Hero. Saturdays, Talking Skritt. We also have a Discord. You can find it down here in the description again. There's people talking about stuff all the time, including just some random ass shit. And also we have these really deep philosophical discussions with our one friend from Poland about, you know, monetization and everything. It's a time. Emotions run the gamut. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.